Now, the government's essential freshwater reforms have been temporarily stalled by COVID-19, with Environment Minister David Parker saying dealing with the crisis necessitates the reconsideration of priorities and timing. That aside, Food and Fibre Leaders Forum facilitator, as I described, WHIP, Mike Petersen, says the government is receptive to working in partnership with the sector. And he joins us now to discuss more on what is page 3 in today's Farmers Weekly. Evening, Mike.
Good evening, Sarah. How are you?
And now I hope you take all compliment in the description as WHIP in this Leaders Forum, because it's a job I know that you can bring both your compassion and capability to manoeuvre negotiations, which you have in the past.
Well, I think so, Sarah, but I think it's important to recognise that the Food and Fibre Leaders Forum is made up of all of the industry organisations right across the livestock, horticulture, Māori economy and others. And these organisations have come together because they do want to make sure that they align their views and thinking and then go to the government and to talk about these big issues like essential fresh water with an industry voice. And it's been great leadership by all of those involved.
So to give an idea, basically the government wanted to have a consistent voice across the sector rather than individually dealing with these industry organisations? Or was that of leadership from the sector first?
No, there was leadership from the sector first. The sector decided that it was far better for them to have their disagreements in the back rooms and then go to the government with some policy that they broadly agree on. And the essential freshwater reforms are a very important piece of work, and I don't speak for the sector. Each of the members do that for themselves. But what the members have said is that they are looking for policy certainty, but it has to be the right policy. And that's why the offer and engagement has gone on between the sector and the government to make sure the policy is right for the time and is right and enduring for the sector.
Now, of course, fighting over water is not something that has sort of just come about. This has been going on for quite some time. So I ask on behalf of the sector, where are we at?
Well, I think the sector is looking for policy certainty, and the uncertainty has been around for far too long. And so the sector leaders are saying that we do want to complete these reforms, whether that happens before the election or after the election. No one's too sure at the moment, particularly with COVID-19. But they are saying that they do want to work with the government, they want to work with the regional sector, they want to work with the Māori economy to look at how we can get some certainty, which would be in the best interest of all concerned.
Do you believe that it's in the best interest politically for anything to be taken off to the table until after the election?
Well, that's a question that we really need guidance from the government on. And so the industry leaders are saying, look, they would like policy certainty and they would prefer that before the election, but they've been very clear in saying that it has to be the right policy. And we still think that there is some work to do on the current proposals. The direction of travel is clear and the sector's absolutely committed to improving water quality and to doing their part. There's no question about that. But they do want to make sure the policy is right for the sector and right for New Zealand.
We've talked previously to CEO for Irrigation New Zealand, Elizabeth Soul, and her progressions on an idea around a water commission. Do you believe that it is time we take water off the political table? Especially, I just don't want to be a journalist again through another election of a water beat up. To be honest, Mike, either.
No, and I think you're right. There's a lot of merit in actually getting water off the political agenda because it spreads not just from the water issue, it spreads onto all sorts of criticisms around farming practices. And, the agricultural, horticultural sector in New Zealand recognises it has a huge responsibility and a huge opportunity to get a positive message out there right now about how they can be good for New Zealand and good for New Zealand's reputation in the world. So that's why the Food and Fibre Leaders Forum has come together, is to try and get that messaging better and to engage more fully, and it seems to be working.
Now, Mike, we've been talking about bad habits over lockdown, and you would have heard me say such nice things about you that you wouldn't dare develop any bad habits at Te Puna there. But has there been any that's popped up that you thought, no one will really know?
Oh, look, I have to say, about 3 days ago, I finally gave up hot cross buns, so they were a nasty temptation. And look, I have to say, we have had to console ourselves with a drink every now and then. So, but we've made a bit of fun too, and I think that's the important thing. We're very fortunate, of course, being on the farm, that we have space and room to do our normal work, and we don't take that lightly. So it's a huge responsibility, producing food for the nation. But we've had some fun along the way.
Yeah, when Harris told me, how tight he is, he's been rationing out his Pinot across the way. Hey, when I was Googling, I've got to come up with these photos for the designers to put into them. I found an image and I thought, no, that's not Mike. Have you seen the other Mike Petersen? Mike?
No, look, I haven't. And no, it's not something I do, going around Googling my name every now and then. So look, Sarah, I understand that this Mike Petersen is a pretty fit-looking guy. Is that true or not?
I've understood from my sources from Joel that he's a bit of an Australian wrestler. I haven't found out if he's any good, but I don't think he's been eating hot cross buns lately by that physique.
No, there we go. I'll pass on that one, Sarah. I'll stick to the farmer from Waipara Ground instead.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Mike Petersen. This is Sarah's Country.